All right, how's everyone doing? I am Rich CELENZA. Thanks for checking out the Rich CELENZA Show. So, what I'm going to call this podcast is Are You Bored in Your Relationship? So, I talk a lot about this in my Mastering Self Confidence program, where I try to help men find the woman or women of their dreams, even if they've been through a bad breakup or divorce. And I don't care who you are, after a certain amount of time, things can get boring. Yeah, that it could be the man could get boring, the woman could get boring, or whoever's in this relationship can get, boring. And a lot of times we look at the other person like they're boring and not realizing how boring we become. And, I think with one thing I will say about me and my girlfriend now is she is always experimenting and trying new things, which I love about her. And also, we've also come to the realization that, we understand it's time to, a lot of times to go, if you work, then you go work out, you come home, you watch TV or whatever. But we do a lot of different things. We go to a lot of different restaurants, especially this last year, experimenting. We also even started hanging out with a lot of different couples that we knew for years that we may have hung out with before, or just meeting other new people and just meeting up with them, or different groups of people, just to keep things interesting. And I got to say, even though the pandemic has been horrible on one end, but for the last 10 or 12 years I was traveling so much, everything was always kind of rushed with me. So I'd be in town, and people didn't even know if I was in town or not. So it would be last minute, and we may go have dinner with somebody, we may not. My plans may change because it could be as simple as work extending my, if I was traveling, it went longer, or I got cut short, or I had to go somewhere else. Whatever the case may be, it was not simple. But this year was the first time I can literally say, I can commit to being somewhere and be there. I was also very open-minded. If somebody invited me somewhere this year, I told them I'll be there. I say it all the time to anybody, all my friends, and even if my family members come to town or whatever the case may be, I'm like, just hit me up. And a lot of them do now that they know I'm available. I went from never being available. But what I want to talk about kind of in this podcast, though, is if you're in a relationship, and a lot of times, and we fall in these ruts, and I get it. I'm telling you, I don't care. This can happen if you're with somebody 6 months. It can happen in 5 years, 10, 20, 50. Whatever the case may be, you may fall into one of these ruts where you're just bored with each other. And you also may get to the point where you don't even want to listen to one another. It sounds like a loop that you've already heard that person say whatever they're going to say 500 times. And I think we all say things repetitively to the one we're with because we don't even remember saying it. But we only have so much information in our brain, and we've only done so much. So we kind of do repeat ourselves. But if you want to kind of start new conversations, start doing new things. You got to start experimenting more. I talk about that a lot. And that goes for relationships as well. And it's not just, in your relationship, to experiment and do fun things doesn't always mean you have to do them with your partner. Like this week, or this weekend, I had to go help my buddy. I went to Fifth Avenue, and I went to Naples, Florida for a couple days, which is wonderful. And my girlfriend stayed back. She went with her friends to Celebration, Disney area. It used to be Disney Celebration with a few of her friends. But also during the week, she went out and she's been meeting her friends here and there and doing fun, different things. And I have been meeting some of my friends. And then together we've been going on a lot of different couples dates or group parties and dinners and lunches. It's been a blast. I'm not going to lie. And what's interesting is just us breaking away more and doing different things. We're talking about what happened. So that's kind of interesting as well. Because I think, too, a lot of times when we're in relationships, we do go do different things, but we're always kind of doing them with the same people, and we're doing the same things. So if you come home, there's really not much more to talk about. Because you've already, it's almost like they're talking about the same thing that they've done X amount of years. Same with you, same people. It's just, you know what I'm saying? But the reason I really bring this up is kind of like what I was saying earlier, is just start, I think, trying different things with whoever you're with. I don't care who it is, even with your kids, maybe even doing different things in groups, different restaurants. And I see a lot of times too, where if we go out as a family, because I basically have a couple stepkids and I have my daughters, and a lot of times if there's 3 of us, 4 of us, 5 of us, 6, whatever, it doesn't always work with everybody. You'll be like, oh, you want to go for pizza? Okay, I like Chicago style. Well, I like New York. I like the way they make it. You're like, all right, you're kind of always arguing. You know what? How about this? We take an entirely different approach. Let's go to a pizza place none of us went to. You want to go try a restaurant? Let's go to something we've never gone to. Let's go to a town instead of the town you're in and always eating at all the restaurants that you've always eaten in. Let's go totally somewhere different, right? Let's go experiment with something different. My daughter the other month took me rock climbing. It was indoors. I would have never thought about doing it. It was crazy. She also took me for a cafe. I love coffee houses where I went there and there were all cats there. You can adopt cats. I'm just using these crazy things as an example because they're on the top of my head. But also even going to restaurants, because I go to so many restaurants with my girlfriend and saying, hey, you know what? We've never done Ruth Chris together, in Orlando, or we've never done this together. Let's try this place. Even though I've done them, she hasn't. And also she's done restaurants, I haven't. But for some reason, we never did them together. So I just wanted to really do a podcast on this. It's not just about food. It's just experimenting and doing things that are really unexpected. And I went to Jacksonville a couple months ago, or maybe a month and a half ago, to one of these restaurants that serves everything, like alligator, kangaroo. I didn't eat that, but all different types of. I can't even tell you how many different animals. It was crazy, and different style fish. They have a huge alligator in the restaurant. I forgot what it's called. The farm, whatever the case may be. It had everything. It had all these different types of things, and she surprised me and took me there. And again, when we meet with other people, it's a fun conversational piece, and it's something. We traveled a lot together in our past, all over North America, which was great. That's very fun. But what was interesting is we live in Orlando, Florida, and there were tons and tons of things that we've never even done locally or even on the outskirts. So that's probably like you too. Like a lot of people, you're probably only driving 15, 20, 30 miles outside your area. But even if you go out 60, 50 miles, just trying different places and different things may go a long way. And I get it, I'm from Chicago, so it's not like Florida, for instance. We can go to many different beach towns and kind of experiment. If you go to Miami, it's so different than, say, Tampa, Naples to Orlando to Jacksonville. Total different areas. And kind of a lot of times in the Midwest, it may feel very similar. The East Coast, I would say, traveling around there, that's much different. The West Coast is much different as well. But, just trying something new. All right. That's all I really got for you on this podcast. Yeah, if you have any questions or comments, hit me up. My program is masteringselfconfidence.com. I talk a lot about dating. I did a TikTok today talking about dating, as a matter of fact. And, one of the things that I get asked a lot, especially with the younger people, is, what should I do on my first date? Where should I go? What should I say? And I always say this, go have fun. That's what you need to do. I don't know when dating became an interrogation, but if you're going on dates, your first date, you got to understand it's one of your most, going to be one of your most memorable dates. If you end up sticking with this person and being in a relationship, have some fun. And if you are somebody that keeps going on dates, for instance, and you don't get the second date, or you go on a few dates and you get ghosted, or they don't text you back, or they just kind of throw you in the friend zone, it's kind of on you a lot of times. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. I get it. But if you've been dating for numerous amounts of years and it just never seems to work out, you really got to take a hard look at your approach. I don't know if it's the way you act, the way you look. I goof around and say the way you smell, but your approach, you're repellent is what I call it a lot of times. And, again, if you're going on dates, especially your first dates, why not do something different that nobody else maybe has ever done before? Go somewhere. Just make it interesting and memorable. All right, that's all I got for you. Yeah, I'm on YouTube. Obviously, I have a podcast. I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram if you want to check me out there as well. All right, take care, and I wish you nothing but the best.